I'm Willow,
I'm Monica.
and we're gonna talk about some crazy shit
That has happened
in our
at
lives.
previous locations that we've worked at, or shops. Yeah.
Tattoo studios. if you
Yeah.
will.
That aren't at all related to this one.
At all. No.
No.
Great here. None of this has to do with here.
You want to go
No,
first?
you go first.
Me?
Yeah. Okay. Well, for context, we worked together. Well, we worked adjacent
Yes.
for years,
And didn't
we
know.
didn't know each other
No.
until we started working here. So a lot of our stories kind of revolve around the same little block of mischief.
Some of mine will revolve around that one. And then there was one other shop that I worked at, also in Dallas. But that was like the first one, the OG shop that I ever worked at.
How many shops have you worked at?
Just two.
Just two.
Well, I guess three now with
Yeah.
Eden. Yeah.
And
What
then
about
your
you?
apprenticeship shop, and then you're a full-time artist, and then here.
Yeah.
Nice. I had an apprenticeship. I worked at this one location in Denton of a studio that, oof. And then my second apprenticeship, and then here.
Okay, so same three.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, four. Kind
Four.
of four.
Okay.
The one I worked at in Denton was a 2-month shit show. So
Okay,
that
okay.
really doesn't count.
Fair enough.
But I'm going to talk about it because the stories out of it were wild.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But you can go first.
Me? Okay. So one that stands out in my mind is so I was tattooing my mom and like my little brother was there and I had just finished tattooing and I had my own like little room and the boss comes in and he's like, hey, there's this dude here. He wants to get his face tattooed.
Blast his face.
And me and the other artist said no, but he wants to talk to everyone. And I was like, if you two said no, who say yes to literally everything that walks in the door, I am sure as fuck gonna say no. And he was like, he wants to talk to everyone. And I was like, fuck my whole life. So I go out there, and by the time I get out there, this person is fully asleep because they are so out of their gourd
like
on some sort of drugs or all of them, I don't know. But I was like, hey man, no one's gonna tattoo you. And he was like, well, why? And I was like, dude, you can't even set up. You can't even set up because you're so fucked up right now. He's like, okay. And then
fair, no worries.
and so he walks out of the shop.
At least he was a reasonable junkie. so-
Yeah, he was at that moment giving me too much trouble. But then, so he went over, there was this like stone gate, or not, stone fence sort of thing
Hedge.
that separated, it separated the two outlets. And he climbed over this. There is a walkway in between these outlets, and
Yeah.
he climbed over this fence
Just yeeted on.
and walked back around to the shop and comes in and he's like, I want to get my face tattooed. And I was like, dude, you were just in here. No one's gonna fucking tattoo you. You can come back another day when you're sober.
He was totally blitzed.
Oh, he was out of his mind.
Wow.
And he leaves and climbs. He climbs over the fence.
I just imagine the Mario the
Yes. Climbs over the fence. Walks right back around. Comes into the shop. And but at this time, I have gone back into my room. The piercer that I worked with, who's also my best friend, she's in her room. And we both come out of our rooms and we're like, what the fuck, dude? And he's like, I forgot my hat. And he grabs his hat and he leaves, and he thankfully does not come back. But that was
He's like, but what about that tattoo though?
right, yeah. Well, and what was also great was the boss who came to get me to talk to this person. He just like left. He went to talk to some friends over in another. There was a bar next door. So he like completely left the situation and left me to take care of this stupid drunk or fucked up person. I was like, oh, that's great. Thank you.
great.
Thank you very much. But that was a real good one.
That is, and it's crazy working in like street shops and stuff and just the walk-in clientele that you get, because like 90% of it is great, awesome people, and it's wonderful, but like that 10% is just a wild card.
Oh,
and
yeah, you never know.
No idea. And honestly, like as stressful as it was at times, it was very entertaining.
It was, yeah.
It was very entertaining.
You'd see some crazy fucking shit.
Some crazy
that's for
stuff.
sure.
When I worked at that one studio in Denton for like 2 seconds, I went there and I wanted to be a tattoo apprentice, and they're like, well, we really need a piercer, but you could apprentice for tattooing at the same time. Can you pierce? And I was like, I can pierce. I couldn't pierce. I can pierce. Whatever, don't care. Just get me in this studio. That's all I want.
They're not going to check your
just want a
resume.
tattoo.
They're just going to be like, here you go.
Yeah, and so I'm working there as the piercer for like 2 months. I did like 3 piercings because it was like dead. Nobody came to this place. It was in a really rough part of town and not great. So there was this artist there. I don't even remember his name. Not that I would say it, but I can't even. But I remember him very clearly. He was like wearing one of those like butcher aprons.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
Like one of those like tie-up butcher aprons, and he had these pair of glasses that had this like circle monocle that he would flip down on it, and like so he could like really get into it. It was a wild look when he got all his gear on, and I was like, oh,
Hell
you're
yeah.
like a mad scientist tattooer.
Hell yeah.
Okay, all right. I wish his tattoos were that good. It was not necessary. I think he thought if he had all of these things, it would make him a better artist, but sadly to say, it did not. And this girl was getting tattooed by him for a while, and she worked at like some sports bar, and she was a really sweet girl. Like every time she came in, really cool. And he was doing this like tiger thing on her ribs. Like, do you remember the Liger drawing from Napoleon Dynamite? It was like that, my dude.
Like Sucky Panther type situation.
Yeah, so bad. But he was like, man, look at this shit right here. He was like, I'm a realism artist. And I was like, yeah.
Just keep on keeping on, man. Hell yeah.
This little fucking bivocal thing. And so, you know, I saw, because they had done multiple sessions on it at this point, and I had seen where it was, and I was like, it can only get somewhere from here. Don't know if that's better or worse, but they're going to keep going on it. So they start going, and, you know, the ribs and stuff, it's a sensitive area, and clients will make noises, and that's just guaranteed, like, you know, moaning and groaning, especially in sensitive areas. I would never, like, make fun of someone for that, but she was like a sex moaner when she got tattooed, and I can't with that. Like, we were sitting in there and he starts tattooing, and all you hear, and it's just like, and like she just for hours, my guy just and I'm like, and we would like look over and we're like, and she's just there like laying on it, and he was like, he was like, you know, older man with his little thing and his butcher thing, and like just what you think of when you think of an old school tattooer who thought he was the shit. Not cute, not it. And so you have this like really sweet young girl making these really awkward noises with this really ugly old man tattooing. Like it was just like, I would walk outside and just be like, I just need to not be in that porn set for 5 seconds, because that is so awkward, and it was such a tiny little area, you couldn't get away from it, and it was, but yeah, I don't think I've heard quite a moan since then from a client. Like, it was very much interesting, and that was like my first little bit of working at a tattoo studio. I had never really worked at one before, and I was like, oh my god. So that was that story.
Yeah, I remember there were a few situations where you would get clients that would like do that, like very sexual sort of moan.
That's not necessary, madam.
And
that is not necessary.
Yeah, and luckily I can't recall ever having someone do that, but yeah,
you just don't turn people on like that, Monica.
No,
you need to be like a 50-year-old
I don't
big
have
guy
that effect
to do that,
on anyone.
You need the Bible. That's really what I think got her, was the
She was like, yeah, that's it. But yeah, no, I don't think I ever got a moaner myself, but definitely other artists that I've worked with, I'd be like, oh, I feel so bad for you right now. pretty awful.
I've had people cuss at me before, which, like, I'm not mad at them for doing it, but it always made me feel a little kind of awkward when they're like, you fucking bitch. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and they're like, I'm just in pain. I'm like, this is really not a fun time for me right now. So that's great. That doesn't, it's only happened like a couple of times.
Yeah.
But it's never great.
I wish more people would cuss at me like that.
I'll do it.
You know?
You want me to? I'll just lean over. Fucking bitch. Monica, you're
I tell
bitch.
clients, I'm like, if you want to cuss me, like, I got my headphones on. You do what you need to do.
Just bounces right off of you.
Oh, there is this one time I was an apprentice, and there was this janky little thing we would use to fill up the mop bucket in the back, and so I had that going because it was my turn to mop. Because like I said, my best friend, we apprenticed together. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we would each take on certain things. So it was my turn to mop. And the boss comes back and he goes like this. And it's a joint. He's like, and I was like, yes, please. And so me and him and my best friend, we all go out to smoke. Because, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty common thing.
That's a really common thing.
Unfortunately, in the industry.
Not anymore, not here.
Not here. No, not here, not here. But, so I was like, yeah, let's fucking do that shit. And so we all three of us, we go out to smoke. And it's like, I don't know if you ever smoked when you worked ever, but it's kind of like, depending on how many people are there, it's like in That 70s Show.
Yeah, where you're passing it, we go out in the back and do it. Yeah,
and like everyone's saying dumbass shit. Just the stupidest fucking thing. So yeah, we were outside smoking and doing our little That 70s Show circle, just all of us talking shit about something. Mm-hmm. And then the boss looks up at me with big, huge eyes, and he goes, "You left the water on." And I was like, fuck. We've been out there for like 20, 30 minutes. Just and so we all run inside. And the whole, so this shop, it was like 2 suites, kind of like how this one is. Mm-hmm. So there's like 2 different like buildings, but it's all like one shop. And so one side of the shop was like almost completely flooded. And, I was like, oh my God, he's gonna kill me. Yeah. He's gonna kill me. And that's it. Luckily, he did not kill me. I am obviously, unfortunately, still here.
God, to all of our misfortune.
And we all got it cleaned up, and luckily he was helping us out. But yeah, I flooded the shop as an apprentice. He didn't just like
stand there and watch you do it?
No, he actually didn't.
That's
he
really
did help,
nice.
because I'm sure he knew that like if I don't help, then like damage is going to happen to the shop, you know. But yeah, we got it cleaned up and it was all fine. But yes, I flooded the shop as an apprentice. It's one of my better things that I've done in my life. Yeah.
So funny. No, we used to do that. So I smoked like a little bit, but it at that point in my life, it made me extremely anxious to smoke. So I'd smoke when I got home, but smoking at work was a hard thing because it just like it made my anxiety really, really high. So I would do it every once in a while, but not very often. Yeah. But I would always go back there and hang out with them, and like I loved those. Like there's certain things about old like street shops that I do miss, and like there was like that kind of like when you didn't have an appointment and you had to be at the shop because you were there from this time to this time, and you would all be hanging out and just shooting the shit and talking and laughing and joking, and those were times that like are very fond in my memories. Like I'm glad not to be there anymore. I'm glad that that's over, but it was a really, really fun time. And I remember like getting onto them all the time because they had all the dab stuff and they would just leave that stuff out, and I'm like, you can't just leave this out here, like what are you doing?
Oh, wow.
And they would get so mad at me. They're like, stop nagging us, and I'm like, I'm not nagging you, this is illegal. Like what are you doing? Like common sense.
Not good. Yeah,
common sense
not
stuff
good.
But this one time it was early, it was like, and it's like not crazy funny, but in hindsight, it's like just the wild things that would happen while you're working in those situations and those places. And it was my first year. I was an apprentice, and our studio was open from like noon to midnight each day. And it was like 9 o'clock at night, and I was making the nighttime pot of coffee, because you need the 9 o'clock pot of coffee. And I was back there doing that. And it was like a Friday or Saturday night. And at that time, the studio that I was at had 2 bars on either side of it. And they're
Double
very
whammy.
rowdy. Yeah. It was by the one by you. In that little section. And so they were lit. They were going ham. And honestly, most times it was just really cool. We got a lot of walk-ins those nights. Yeah. And it was really fun because people would go drink and then they'd come get tattooed, and like it was a whole thing. But this night, I was making the pot of coffee. We were actually pretty slow. And luckily enough, I will say one of my coworkers at the time had a son who was like a 9 or so. And the son was with him that day, but they left early on those days to go home. You know, they couldn't stay until the night he had his kid with him. Right. So luckily they had already left. And the kid wasn't there for this, because it would have been, I could only imagine, traumatizing. But I remember making the coffee in the back, and all I heard was like pop, 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 pop. And at the time, like, it didn't register in my brain that it was gunshots. Like, I was like, what? Like, what is happening? Yeah. And we had the whole front of the shop was just glass windows, so we could see into the parking lot, and we were like smack dab in the middle of these 2 bars. And it was a drug violence type thing going on. And I remember not really thinking about it, just walking up to the front, just being like, what is happening? And we all like kind of came out and were like, what's going on? And there was a dude just like laying on the ground in front of the studio, because like you could see out into the parking lot, and he was just down there, and this van out of nowhere just comes, picks him up, and dips. And we were like, what is happening right now? Like, what is going on? Luckily, one of my coworkers that I did not very much like, his car got shut up, and I was just like, oh, sucks to suck, dude, but I don't like you, so that's okay. No, that's terrible. But so we're just sitting there like trying to mentally process what we just saw, and we're like, did that really just happen? We just saw a shooting and some guy just get taken away to wherever. And then like not but like less than 10 minutes later, so we had a front door and a back door, and the back door was at the alley. And like, again, we're not really thinking about locking doors or anything. We're like, oh, okay. This kid just runs in the back. Like the back led to the piercing room, which ran through the rest of the studio. And he just runs in there. He's like, I need to hide. And we're like, no, get out. Like, no. So he like runs back out the way we came. We lock all the doors, and we're just sitting there. And like, I think only 1 or 2 people were tattooing at the time. So the clients were just like, and then we just get back to business, and they just keep tattooing, and they just keep going, and we stayed open the rest of the night because we had to, and we were just like, wow. And so that was within my first year of being at that studio, and I was shocked that nobody quit after that. Like, everyone stayed, everyone just acted like nothing happened, and life went on. And like, I will say that over the next few years working there, that area got like nicer, and like nothing like that happened again. But like, looking back at it, I can't believe I just like walked up to the front of the studio to check out what was happening. Like, in those moments you really don't think about it, right? And it just, I don't know, wild stuff.
I remember like being over there, because I was across the street. And so there was this one time that, because I feel like, shootings and stuff would happen over there a lot. It was just like that one like intersection was just like
7-Eleven right there.
It was just like that one intersection, because you go that way a block or you go this way a block and it's fine. But this one intersection was just so bad. But I remember one time my best friend who I apprenticed with, we then moved to these shops, and she worked at a different location. And she was driving to my location to, I don't know, either to hang out or to pick something up that she needed for her shop. And she was driving over here, I think with another one of the artists, and they saw someone had gotten shot at that intersection, and that person had like been like shot. Like, and there's just a dead person
chilling there
on the side of the road. It was a wild area.
No, that whole area, I think it's a lot better now. I haven't been back over there since I left, but like, it was like, you know, you always kind of hear stories about like old school tattooing and how, you know, I remember hearing stories about how in small towns, if another tattoo studio started, like in the 90s and stuff, that they would go and like burn the studio down, or like there was a lot of like violence within the tattoo community back in the day. And not saying it was everywhere, but it was a big thing. I mean, you gotta think like it was known for like bikers and people in prison, and especially in the 80s and 90s and coming up. So like I feel like when both of us started was in like the 2010s and everything, like the late 2010s, I feel like a lot of that stuff had finally, like, not saying it's all gone, but that kind of stuff is dissipated, especially in our new era of tattooing with like studios like ours and like other ones around, where we just don't have any tolerance for things like that, and like allowing those types of behaviors to happen or things like that, and giving those situations a chance to happen.
Boundaries are set.
Boundaries are set, and we just won't put up with it anymore, which I think is great, which I think is awesome. It needed to happen, because I don't think tattooing could have kept this reputation of the bad boy industry. You know what I mean? Where it's like all just like kind of drugs, sex, rock and roll. It is a keystone in the history of tattooing, but it's not sustainable as an industry for that, and it doesn't bring in new clientele and bring in new people who want to get body art but don't feel safe. And I think creating a safe space is the number one thing over everything else.
This is kind of off topic, but did you ever have to use an autoclave?
Oh my god, yes. Yeah, I had to clean the piercer's jewelry and autoclave it for him all the time.
Yeah, this one, because it reminded me, like you said, a safe space, and this one time, autoclaves, if for those of you who don't know, autoclaves are like little pressure cookers, and if you do something wrong, they will fucking explode.
And they're expensive.
Very expensive. And this one time, I'm pretty sure it was the boss had loaded the autoclave with like way too many of those steel tubes, that we used to have to clean.
Tattoo tubes. Oh man.
And I feel like by this time, I don't think me and my best friend were apprentices anymore. I think we might have not, but yeah. So he was doing them, and he's the one who packed the autoclave, and he put so much shit in there, and something happened, and it exploded. And so luckily, like, no one got hurt. Like, I don't even think there was any damage to the shop. But yeah, the top of it, like, you could see, like, it had, like, I don't know, it was like a little opening from where it fucking exploded.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it was crazy. And especially because the guy who taught me how to tattoo, he would always talk about, like, all the time, like, you got to be safe with these autoclaves. If you don't, it's gonna fucking explode. And then it fucking exploded one day. Yeah.
You know, I at my first apprenticeship I ever did, they were really big on like hazing and bullying and stuff like that, and over the week, it was like my first month at that place. I ended up leaving a couple months later because it was a sinking ship, but basically they had taken, like, I think it was around 20 metal tubes. So basically, for a coil machine back in the day before disposables and everything, you would have like a metal grip tube that you would clean and then autoclave and sterilize and reuse for a coil machine. And so the shop that I worked at didn't have any disposable stuff at this time. There was no disposables. So I, as an apprentice, was in charge of cleaning tubes after each appointment and stuff like that, which was fine. It wasn't like a big deal. It didn't take super long. You'd clean them really well with like Murphy oil or soap or something like that, and then, put them in the package, whatever. But I guess they wanted to test my gusto or something. So they took black, purple, and red ink and 20 tubes, and they covered them in ink and let them sit for 3 days in like a vat of ink. And when I got back to work the day after the weekend, they were like, hey, this is for you, so enjoy. And I was like, sick, cool, love that. So I got to spend 7 hours that day cleaning, but joke's on them, I couldn't go out and do paperwork. I couldn't answer the phone. I couldn't set them up and break them down. Yeah. All I could do was stand in the clean room and clean the brushes, and I had to take them each apart because there's 2 little screws in the grip itself that takes the tube out, and there was ink everywhere. So I had to take each little one apart, clean every single little one of them, And I got to just listen to Game of Thrones on my audiobook.
Hell yeah.
Like, I just had my headphones
like,
listening to Game of Thrones.
Done. Yeah.
And I was just like,
Yeah.
honestly, thanks, guys. Like, this was great. So I just sat there and cleaned them. And, like, they weren't contaminated by, like, body fluids or anything. So, like, it wasn't, like, this, like, high-pressure thing. It was just, like, getting all the ink off.
They just were hazing you.
But joke's on them. They had to work so hard that whole day.
Right.
Because I was not available to clean or do anything for them. And I'm like, idiots. Like, okay.
They
that's
thought.
fine. They thought.
Yeah.
And they thought that was going to make me quit or something. And I was like, okay, like, whatever.
This one, I feel like, and I feel like you might be able to, like, go off of this, is, like, the nasty shit that other artists would do, you know, that was, like, completely just, like, not sanitary at all.
Just didn't know any basic hygiene.
Right.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah, and, like, at the time that a lot of this would happen, like, I'm an apprentice. No one's gonna fucking listen to me.
You can't say anything.
I'm not
like, what the fuck?
Right, like, I'm not an authority figure. I can't be like, yo, what the fuck are you doing, you know, and anyone's gonna change anything. But this one artist, I specifically remember this, he was showing me these new cartridges that he had bought. Mm-hmm. And, because I think around this time, when I think both of it, because I started in 2017, so
Yeah, I got my apprenticeship in 2017.
Okay.
I started tattooing in 2019.
So I feel like around that time, like, cartridges were becoming more and more popular, and disposable stuff was becoming more and more popular, so he was, like, really excited about these cartridges that he had just bought. And he was showing them to me, and he took it out of the package, and with his bare hands, took it out of the package, which already, like, out the gate, you're like, okay, so you must not be using this. Like, you plan
You're
to,
just like...
you plan to dispose of this. And he shows me the stuff and drops it accidentally, right?
On the floor?
And then, yes, drops it on the floor.
No.
And picks it up and, like, continues to show me. Walk-in comes in. It's his turn. He's up for walk-in. And he takes that walk-in and he does the tattoo with that cartridge that he dropped on the dirty tattoo floor. Yeah.
And I want to say I'm totally surprised, but I'm not with shops like that. And that's, like, really where it comes into that, like, you can tell the environment the moment you walk into that studio. Does it seem clean and sterile and nice to you? Because if you walk in and you get a grody feeling, there's probably a reason for that.
Right.
I've seen so many things. I saw this artist who would literally grab his phone with his gloves that he was tattooing, do some shit on his phone, take a photo or answer a call or whatever, and then put his phone down on the tray or on the bed, one of the two.
There were
and then keep going.
Multiple people who did that where I would. And I'm just like...
And I'm like, my God, you're sitting on the shitter with your phone.
Right. Yes.
Shitting,
like,
texting, and now you're going to grab it with a glove.
Yeah, I don't get it. I've never understood it. Like, every single day, you know, you see me wearing headphones every day, and sometimes I got to push pause. And so, like, I take steps, like, I wipe my phone down with alcohol. And then, like, I will, like, put tape on it to where it is completely
sanitary.
Covered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
It
takes like less than 5 minutes.
Yeah. And if you're going to use your phone like that, and honestly, and this is my hot take, I think sometimes Apple Watches can get a little in that weird zone, because when you think about wearing gloves and, like, how close you are in proximity, and then having an Apple Watch on, and the Apple Watch is not covered or anything, and you're, like, on that biohazard.
Yeah.
And that, like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not saying there isn't a way to do it, but, like, I've seen a lot of people who just, they're like, well, it's in my Apple Watch. And it's like,
like I have an Apple Watch, and I wear it every single day. But like, it's like super easy
to clean it, or like to wrap it, or something.
To like my gloves go around it, like around, like, and they fit around it really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
I've seen where they have them like on top of the glove or something.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't get it, because it's so easy. It's so easy to not do that.
No, or like I remember I would have to, one of one of the artists I used to work at the studio, and he would have me go get him like a coffee or something like that, and he would have me like wrap his coffee for him and then set it on his tray for him to like drink while he was tattooing. And like, granted, it's not the grossest thing in the world, but like, honestly, I don't want anything that I'm putting in my mouth on the tray.
Yeah, like
of,
at least like set it somewhere.
It splatters.
Yeah, like have your own little
thing over here
that you can like set that on the tray.
And I just like, I don't know, putting things on the tray that don't belong on the tray
right,
just like never made sense to me. Like, can you not just take 5 seconds, take your gloves off, go get your drink that's over on your shelf, drink it, put it back down, put your gloves back on, like, I don't know. We're not in COVID times anymore. We don't have a glove shortage anymore. Like, we're fine.
I forgot about that.
Do you remember? It was like $40 a box for gloves.
It was literally like
insane.
$40 a box.
Which boxes of gloves are typically like $8 or something. At least they used to be $8 to $10.
Yeah.
I don't know if they are anymore. We don't have to buy our gloves anymore. But
yes, thank you.
Yeah, at that time when COVID happened, it was just like. And I get it. Tattooing was not the priority. There was so many other PPE things. Like, totally understand, but I was like
expensive.
Hoarding my gloves. I was like, do I need to do any?
Do I have to do I need to take any breaks during this tattoo?
Like try to like use one pair of gloves the whole appointment and just like get through the whole tattoo and never stop and be like not taking them off for anything. We're not doing it. Oh my god.
Well.
Talk about scripting and saving.
Yeah.
No, that's really funny. I've seen some really, really gnarly things, sanitation wise at old studios too, where just
I've seen artists like grab their ink with their dirty gloves.
Oh, with their dirty gloves. It's like, just take your gloves off, my guy.
It's not hard.
It's not hard. Yeah. It's not that expensive anymore. It's really not that bad. It's Willow and Monica telling you some shit.
And this is it.